Commissioner.
How was your afternoon?
Oh my goodness. Tuesdays are the busiest. Crazy.
I was telling them in civil service, we were talking about the calendar for 2021. And I said, I know it sounds crazy, but keep it on Tuesday because I'd rather be crazy one day and then maybe I can get caught up another day.
Yeah, it's a balance, isn't it? Like, do you throw everything in one day and have a 16-hour day or break it up?
Right.
So. All right, who are missing here? Commissioner Isasi? I don't see her yet. But why don't we go ahead and get started? I'm sure she'll join us. All right, so we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. And as we get started tonight, if this is the first time you're joining us, I'm going to ask you to join me for a moment of silence, and then we'll do Pledge of Allegiance and roll call. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you, everyone. Next, we'll go to roll call. So I'll turn to our city clerk.
It's always fun because we see the bottoms of everybody's ties when we do that. So anywho, Commissioner Repart.
Here.
Commissioner Lanier.
Present.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner O'Connor.
Here.
Commissioner Moody.
Present.
Commissioner Isasi.
Present.
Mayor Bliss.
Before that, thank you. I'm going to introduce Miss Lily Beth Perez, but let me give you just a couple, let me add a few things about tonight's agenda. So there are two opportunities for public comment tonight. The very first one is public comment on action items or agenda items. These are items that we voted on earlier today that are on our agenda that we'll vote on tonight. So the first opportunity for public comment is going to be items that we voted on, and then every other item is going to be opportunity for public comment. So if you want to give public comment, you can call 456-3000 or 311. To speak on something that we're voting on, you can hit 1 and then hit number 1. And then for the second opportunity for public comment is hit 1 and then 5. So before I turn it over to Lily Beth, I also want to clarify, I've had a few folks reach out to my office today about a conversation that the commission had earlier today, a briefing that we had and an update from our chief about technology and ShotSpotter. Now I want to be really clear, that is not on our agenda tonight to vote on. So we're not voting on that tonight. Today, we just heard an update from the chief. So if you want to speak on that item, then you would speak in the second opportunity for public comment, not the first one. So that would be hitting number 5 and not number 1. So I just want to clarify, if somebody does call in for that, commissioners, then Daniel will let them know that they need to call back during the second opportunity. So with that, I'll introduce Miss Lily Beth Perez. And ask her to give us some information in Spanish and let people know about her availability to assist with translation. I think it's Lily Beth. Is that right, Joel?
Yep. Show her on. I see her and she's unmuted.
All right. Lily Beth, we can't hear you. Oh, yep, now we can.
I'm sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. If you need interpretation services to address the City Commission, I will be able to assist. please dial 456-3000 or 311 and choose the option you'd like to speak on tonight. Buenas noches. Si necesita servicios de interpretación para dirigirse a la Comisión de la Ciudad, estaré disponible para ayudarle. Marque el 456-3000 o el 311 y elija la opción en la que desea hablar esta noche. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that'll open up our first opportunity for public comment. A couple rules that we asked you to, or guidelines that we asked you to follow. We asked you to share your name, the city that you live in. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. And on this first opportunity, we asked you to be really explicit about what item you're speaking about. So if you want to speak to, let's say, Committee of the Whole item number 2, please let us know that so that we can go to that in our packet. So we'll open it up for the first opportunity for public comment, and I believe I'll turn it over to Daniel to see if we have anyone in the queue.
Here comes the first caller.
Thank you, Daniel.
Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name, the city in which you live, and the item you wish to speak on. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Maggie Smith, and I'm in the 3rd Ward. And I appreciate the mayor just gave clarification to one of the things I wanted to comment on, and I appreciate her saying that about the shot detection technology. So I'll hang up at press 5 for that. But my next question was about the gun buyback programs. If anyone, when that comes up on the agenda, can speak to any research that shows that gun buybacks prevent crime, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live and the agenda item you wish to speak upon. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Thank you. This is Hannah Berry from Creston. I'm calling about the agenda item dealing with the chamber's position that is linked with Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. and the city of Grand Rapids. I know that things have changed over the year with COVID, and obviously there's no way to predict a job like that. But I do think that there is a lot of questions in the air of what we are approving and what the corridor improvements are doing, and where a lot of the responsibility falls. I think that if that position is renewed, that we should probably have a very strategic plan on how things are going to be changed and how the data scores that have been brought to the city are going to be reflected into the job creation for that next position for this next year. And that is all.
Thank you, caller. Mayor, there are no more callers in the queue.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. We'll move along then to approval of our minutes, and we have approval of minutes for 2 sessions. So we had our regular session on October 27th, and then we also had a special meeting, a very lengthy special planning meeting on October 30th. So can I get approval for the minutes for both of these meetings?
So moved. Support.
All right. Moved and supported. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we'll turn to our city clerk to call the vote.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Moody,
Yes.
Commissioner Sassi, Commissioner Repart,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier,
Aye.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes, it carries. All right, next that will take us to petitions and communications, and we have 3 items tonight.
The first one is a communication received regarding the way COVID-19 is being handled at the Kent County Correctional Facility.
That is received and filed.
And 279 communications received expressing opposition to the implementation of shot spotter technology.
That is received and filed.
And communication received regarding possible protests following the November 3, 2020 election.
And that is received and filed. All right, next that will take us to reports of city officers.
The first one is a report of bond sale, $5,805,000, Building Authority refunding bond series 2020A, and $11,050,000, Building Authority refunding bonds series 2020B.
All right, that's received and filed.
Comptroller's report for the period of October 15, 2020 through October 28, 2020 in the amount of $25,571,352.69.
That is received and filed.
Comptroller's update on year-end reporting
That's received and filed.
and treasurer's report for the period of October 10, 2020 through October 23, 2020.
And that is also received and filed. That will take us to a consent agenda. So our consent agenda are items that we talked about earlier today in one of our standing committee meetings. And when they were voted on, they were voted on unanimously. So tonight with one voice vote, we'll adopt those items. So commissioners, can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right, City Clerk, will you call the vote on that?
Commissioner O'Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Moody,
Yes.
Commissioner Stasi. I'm sorry, you didn't unmute, Commissioner.
Yes.
Thank you. No, where was I? Oh, yeah. Commissioner Ruppert,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes, it carries. All right, that will take us to items removed from consent. And we have one item tonight that's been removed from consent. This is a resolution confirming the special assessment nuisance roll, numbers 87. Can I get a motion?
So move.
All right, moved and supported. So this had a split D, so I'll defer to Commissioner Lanier to tell us about this item.
I'm getting a little feedback, so if you're
Hold on, Commissioner Lanier, hold on one second. Ms. Brown, you're a capture. Your muting and unmuting keeps going on and off. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. Yeah, for some reason your mute and unmute keep going on and off. So
Okay, let me turn it off and turn it back on again, Joel.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Looks like okay. Sorry. No, it keeps her mute keeps flicking back and forth.
Joel, can you mute me?
Yep, I keep. All right, I muted her. All right, go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. So thanks, Mayor, for teeing this up. You're right. This is the special assessment nuisance roll number 8754. So typically we receive, I don't know if it's twice a year or once a year, but we receive the list and we go through the process. So during CD this morning, Commissioner Ruppert and I, it was just before Commissioner Jones was able to connect. I'm sorry, Commissioner. I don't know why it's still funny, but anyway, we talked a little bit about the nuisance roll, and I was just really asking the question. So I wanted it to be off consent so we could have a discussion this evening. As we've been having some of our conversations about how we want to help the citizens of our community in light of COVID and some of the concerns that have transpired. I was just thinking that this could be a way, as we're looking for ways to mitigate what's happening in our community, this may be a way to do that specifically for citizens. And I know Paula also mentioned that there are rental property owners that are part of this as well. And we talked briefly about that some rental property owners, because of restrictions, were not even receiving rent. And so they're just, a lot of people are struggling right now and just wanted to have the dialogue here, not necessarily to make drastic changes to what we have before us, but just to put the conversation at the forefront so that we can be thinking about creative ways that we can help the citizens of our community. And I think Mr. DeLong is prepared, it looks like, to respond to some of that because he was in that meeting as well.
Okay. Well, I'll turn it over to Mr. DeLong, and I see Paula's on as well. I guess I would be curious, I'll just add a question, maybe Paula or Eric to answer. When we do have a role, is there a way, I think Ms. Deb Brown, I think her enough is continues to go on.
And I think it's Mr. DeLong as well. So if you're not speaking, if you're not addressing the commission, please put your mic on mute.
So a question that I had when I saw this was off consent is there a way for us to identify individuals who are unable to pay because of a hardship versus they disagree? I know sometimes people appeal or they don't pay because they just fundamentally disagree with the charge, for a whole host of reasons. So I'm just curious if there's a way for us to kind of get a better sense of, is it COVID related? Because we've had these nuisance rolls, for years, even pre-COVID. So I'm just curious if there's a way for us to identify the difference between the two.
Yeah, Mayor, I think that spoke to some of what we were talking about, and we likely did not send out a survey with that question in mind, but I think how can we then address the citizens to try and get that information if there is a possibility for us to be able to do something at this point in the nuisance roll process?
Okay, all right. Thank you, Commissioner, for bringing that up. So I'll turn it over to Eric and Paula, and maybe they can fill the rest of the commission who wasn't a part of CD this morning in on their thoughts.
Thank you, Commissioner Lanier and Mayor Bliss. So this process started back in July when the city treasurer brought forward a roll that said these are persons who we've been working to collect, property owners we've been working to collect fees and fines from. And we've been unsuccessful in that. So we asked the city commission to direct the assessor to prepare a roll, and that action was taken in July. So the city assessor did that, and we had a hearing on necessity that happened a while ago. And then this roll comes forward now at the amount of $224,000, which is the total of the fines and fees that haven't been paid between January 1 and June 30th of 2020. So when this process started, the amount of unpaid fees and fines was $280,000. So between the time it started and between now, people have paid paid fees. And what I'd like to do is to have Paula describe the process in a little more detail, and then and some suggestions and ideas that she has. And then we can go from there. So, Ms. Jastifer, if you could join us, please.
Thank you, Eric. What happens with this process is the treasurer has these unpaid fees, and they range from everything from demolitions of property, dead tree removals, sidewalk replacement, refuse violations, single-family certifications, snow removal, and other things that the city has done to enforce code violations. So when we started this process back in July, the treasurer brought forward 270,000 of charges. And of those charges, back then in July, the commission met and said this is a necessity, and the assessor needs to create a special assessment roll. And that's what we did. And we notified all the property owners of the charges in the appeal process. And so we received 14 appeals on 6 different properties. And that's about 1.5% of the total roll that filed appeals. And what we're asking you to do is to take these charges and put them on the tax roll. We're not asking you to forgive these charges or reduce these charges. That's not what we're trying to do here tonight. We're trying to aid the treasurer in collecting these unpaid fines and fees, and by putting them on the tax roll. And because when they put on the tax roll, they become a lien. And that's why it's so important that we go through this process. We hear the appeals. You sat as the board of review for this and had a public hearing, and we had all the appeals filed by that day. So we reviewed the appeals and found substantial evidence that these fines or charges do need to go forward. They are substantial, and the city followed all the processes that are put in the city code. So there was the process was followed, and so these would need to be approved by you to go forward to put on the tax roll, which will be coming out December 1st. So that's what we're asking today, is to approve these charges to move forward. Of this 272, many of those were paid between July 1st and now. And so we're down to 224,000 and some change that we're asking to be approved to be put on the tax roll. So I'll take any questions if you have more.
All right, thanks, Paula. So, commissioners, questions for Paula or Eric?
I think, yeah, Mayor, I think my question, Paula, as I was mentioning to you earlier in our CD meeting, that I fully understand what the process is and understand what it is that you were originally requesting. I'm asking a different question. So during our retreat, we talked about what are some of the ways in which we can provide relief to the residents who live in the city of Grand Rapids. My question is simply, is this one of those ways that we could potentially provide relief to those who may have hardship in light of COVID? As we've been doing things for businesses, could this be a way to do something for residents? So that was the question I had this morning. It's still the same question. Is this a possibility? Is this a creative way for us to be able to address our residents and to try and provide relief for them as well?
Commissioner, that's a good question. I think that we're way too deep in this part of the process, because what we believe we have is a equity issue here, or equitable issue, where many people have paid. So there were people who received fines and charges that didn't get on the list. They paid them, either they took care of the issue or they paid their fine when it was due. Then there are those who made the initial list and paid along the way. So if without going back and taking care of all those people who did that, we would be giving the people here who have not paid kind of maybe an unfair or inequitable break, I think. So the impulse is good, though, and I think it is adequate. It's more appropriately talked about in terms of where we talked about it at your workshop as part of strategy. So this is a way to point forward maybe work we have to do. So I would also say that during the period of time that this was going on, we did have a city manager administrative order. We suspended for part of the time code enforcement. We suspended rental certification. So there was a time where we just stopped doing that work, and it had an impact on whatever forgiveness or leniency that has had. Plus, we've not really recovered in terms of the amount of work we've been doing. So I think we've found a way to be lenient in terms of how we're approaching this. But I think the question you're asked is there's more consideration probably in a next, as we go forward, not necessarily in this situation. This group of people, property owners, we need to proceed with, I believe. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's okay, Commissioner Lanier. I appreciate you bringing this up. And I guess my question is there a way for us to notify individuals who haven't paid, or can we ascertain if you're unable to pay because of a hardship or because of COVID, here are resources that are available to help and do that more proactively? That I think that's really the crux of the issue, right? We don't want to add to people's hardship if they're struggling because of the pandemic.
So we've experimented with that, with the keeping people in their homes process in the third ward equity program. And so we've had some success in that. This would be a different application of that pilot. And, you know, we don't means test people. We have not so far done that. Doesn't mean we couldn't in the future. I think that's not something we can do with this cohort. We've got to work forward and see if maybe there's a way to do it in the future, if that's what Commissioner would like to do.
Let's go to Commissioner Moody. And then Commissioner Repart, did you have a hand up? No? Okay, so Commissioner Moody?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The question that I have in reference to this, in the comment that was just made, a lot of people who paid their taxes probably could afford to do it and had the money put away to do it. My concern is that if there are individuals that you have on your list who have been faithful in the past but are now struggling, is there any kind of means that you can put in place to give some assistance? I think that's what we're all saying. I think I piggyback on what Commissioner Lanier is saying, because I'm concerned with individuals who are struggling in this COVID period. And I know the city needs the money, but I also know that there's some good people out there who have been faithful in the past in paying their property taxes, but are now struggling. Can you disaggregate that in your report?
Mayor, before we go, I just want to be clear with Commissioner Moody. This is not just about the regular property tax assessment. These are people who have been in violation of other elements of code and have received fines, which has been added to the amount, or which will, if approved, will be added to the property tax roll if the commission doesn't, if the commission approves this evening. I think if this is something the commission does not want to do, then a simple no vote will not allow us to proceed with the special assessment. So, and I just want to be clear. So if this is something that you do not want to move forward, then if the majority of the commissioners vote no, then none of the property tax owners will receive this special assessment. So, but I think what Mr. DeLong is saying, there are implications of that, because that will result in about $220,000 plus in revenue shortfalls, which we would have to make some adjustments on the expenditure side, which could mean offsetting this cost with other staffing reductions. So we were not prepared to do that this evening. We were unaware of the concerns prior to today. I think what the staff is saying, if there are alternatives that the commission would like us to look at in providing assistance to residents, such as what we've done in the third ward in keeping residents in their homes, we can do that moving forward. But tonight, I'm not prepared with another alternative of what the staff has brought forth on this agenda.
City Manager, forgive me. I did not hear the word violation. I may have missed that or misread that, but I did not hear that in the report tonight. So if it was said, then I do apologize. But at the same time, you know, that has to come across very clear that these are violations. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, so I think this is an important conversation to have, and what I think I heard Commissioner Lanier say, and at least where I stand, I'm ready to vote yes on this. However, I also would like city staff to follow up, and whether this is Eric in partnership with Paula, and just make sure that we do have a process in place that when people are unable to pay, you know, and many of us know how this works, right? I have a dead tree in front of my house. I can't afford to have it taken down. It's taken down and I get a charge and I may not be able to pay for that. I just want to what I'm hearing is we want to make sure that families or individuals or businesses, if they are unable to pay because of the pandemic or a significant hardship, that we're providing them with information about where they can get resources. I think that's the what I'm hearing tonight.
You summed it up quite well, Mayor.
Okay. All right, so commissioners, any other questions before I ask our city clerk to call the vote? And I'm happy to follow up with Eric to see what we can potentially do to just make sure that people know that there are resources out there to help them, whether through the city or through United Way or some other resource.
Yeah, and I think in addition to that too, Mayor, and as we are doing our work, because I think this is the crux of the issue for me, we cannot do business as usual. I think whatever it is that we do that happens every single month or year or quarter, we need to be thinking about it and asking questions about, okay, how could people have been impacted by COVID that influences whatever it is that we're doing? And I think we need to have that at front of mind as we're, going through things just like this, a nuisance roll that we typically go through, and it's usually uneventful because people recognize they file an appeal, and if they get through that process, fine. If not, then they pretty much understand how they've gotten there. But I do think that we have to, at this point, start looking at how we're doing business. And as we've been doing, I think, consistently with the business community, and as a business owner, I'm happy of that. But as a resident and hearing from residents who are struggling, I think we need to be a little bit more proactive in how we're doing our work, our daily work at the city.
Yeah, thanks. All right, commissioners, any other questions or comments? All right, I'll turn to our city clerk to call the question.
Commissioner Moody?
No.
Commissioner Isasi?
Yes.
Commissioner Repart?
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Yes.
Mayor Bliss?
Yes, it carries.
Okay, hold on one second, Mayor. Ms. Brown, I guess there's a new setting. If you go up to audio and video and the drop down, it says unmute temporarily by holding a space bar. That's what our issue is. So you need to uncheck that. So every time she hits the space bar, that's what's happening. It's a new setting inside WebEx. Thank you, Mr. Stark, for bringing that.
We love WebEx. Glad I haven't done that. All right, commissioners, we don't have any resolutions tonight to adopt, so that will take us to our final public hearing tonight, or public comment, I should say. We don't have any scheduled public hearings. So this is the last opportunity for public comment tonight, and this can be on items not on the agenda, any item that is on your heart or mind. And so with that, I will open it up for our last public comment. You can call 311 or 456-3000, hit number 1 and then number 5. And so I'll turn to Daniel.
Here comes the first caller.
Thanks, Daniel.
Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Hi, my name is Kellen. I live in Ward 2 of Grand Rapids. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for taking my call. I would like to use this time to voice my opposition to the implementation of ShotSpotter in Grand Rapids. As was specified in the committee of the whole today, a total of 4 square miles of Grand Rapids public space will be used to implement ShotSpotter. These 4 square miles are where the GRPD, along with the help of ShotSpotter personnel, will be monitoring our neighborhoods for gunshot fire. I have come on to argue whether or not it is a matter of crime prevention to, first of all, implement ShotSpotter in our communities. Secondly, if ShotSpotter is used in our communities, I would like to present evidence towards ShotSpotter being used in a way that completely disregards police activity. On my first point, I agree that surveillance can be useful to respond to unfavorable situations that are currently in action. That is precisely why surveillance is not a proactive measure for crime prevention. The crime must not have been done in order to be prevented. By saying you have prevented crime through means of surveillance means you have arrested someone based on ideological standards. That arrest would be considered a form of profiling. With the implementation of ShotSpotter, the GRPD is essentially profiling their constituents, applying a general form of criminal to the people that live in these neighborhoods in Grand Rapids. On my second point, I have come across a tweet from the CEO of ShotSpotter himself, Mr. Ralph Clark, who says, quote, "One of my favorite use cases of ShotSpotter data was a Florida-based agency that saw a tightly concentrated amount of gunfire near a closed rec center. They decided to take some funds and use to open the gym and organize a midnight recreational basketball league during times of previous gunfire. The counterintuitive theory was to dismiss the idea of a curfew, but organize a positive activity whereby the community would reclaim and repurpose the space and effectively mitigate gun violence, making it super abnormal. The beauty was this totally worked without a single arrest of law enforcement intervention. It was also low cost and co-produced with community, making it effective and sustainable, unquote. As you heard, an agency was able to affect the community in a way that the police would not be able to. The unusual step of investing in community relationships through the game of basketball brought all the deadly gun crime prevention that area needed. The reduction of police presence through community-led efforts brought prosperity. Finally, I wanted to talk about how ShotSpotter has been lambasted in 2 significant court proceedings. In the first proceeding, there was testimony from a forensic analyst.
That's 3 minutes, caller. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Caller, can you please lower the volume on your device? Please state your name, the city in which you live, and you have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Hello, my name is Alyssa Bates, and I'm a citizen of the 3rd Ward, and I'm also the president of Just for Black Lives. I'm calling in to oppose the implementation of shot spotters in the city of Grand Rapids. The first thing I would like to say is that this is a complete waste of money, especially considering it has been proven that this technology is not effective at reducing gun violence. 75% of the time, alerts are false alarms. Another 20% of the time, police are sent to the wrong location. The last in the southeast side needs an increased amount of police presence. We already have that enough. Yes, we know there's an increase of gun violence in this area, but at this point, what does the city expect? We don't have enough funding or resources. People are literally out here fighting for scraps while you all watch and play Monopoly and increase the property value here. Not to mention, people are afraid to call the police in fear of brutality. Spending $500,000 to further oppress communities of color is not the answer, nor is it going to build trust between the community and the police. If you want to stop gun violence, you would actually listen to the community instead of people who don't actually live here or know what it's like to live here. With that being said, do the right thing. We need to defund GRPD and put funding back into our community. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Hello, good evening, commissioners. Thank you so much for your time and taking my call. My name is Lucy Ernst, and I am a citizen of Grand Rapids, 49503 zip code. I'm calling about the shot spotter. I cannot believe that the city is going to spend $500,000 on technology that doesn't work when our citizens, our people, are in dire straits. We need community policing and involvement over technology. This is just wrong. We need to hold our police department accountable and let there be more transparency about the treatment of marginalized communities in our city. This is real. We do not need to put more militarization into the police force. We need to put humanity into our communities. We just voted blue. We are a more progressive city than this. We have to treat our citizens with more love and respect. We have to respect all the citizens of our community. I've just seen so much disparity over this summer with social justice. We need racial justice, economic, environmental justice. We need to stand up for our people, not against our people. To spend $500,000 when there are people sleeping on the streets, people about to lose their homes, their apartments that already have, when food pantries are struggling to feed people that have never actually had to go to a food pantry and a lot of people that have always relied on food pantries. We need to put money into the community. I know the city is hurting for funds. This is ridiculous. You're talking about people that can't pay their taxes, blah, 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 but we're going to put $500,000 of CARES Act money into technology. We need to grow a heart, and we need to treat the citizens of our communities, no matter what they look like or where they live, with equanimity. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have up to 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Hi, my name is Maddie Buckler. I'm from Granville. I'm calling in to say no to indirectly using coronavirus relief funds on ShotSpotter for parts of Grand Rapids. I lived outside of Chicago for 12 years, and the ShotSpotter technology was a common sight on top of lights around surrounding towns. I can say without a shadow of a doubt that it did not make me feel safer as a resident, and it did not deter crime. All it is another way for police to throw people of color in jail after a crime happens. It does not lower crime. It does not fix the underlying issues that cause crime. It is a Band-Aid on a tumor, and I think you all know that. So here's a crazy idea. Maybe we use the coronavirus relief money and spend it on relieving the coronavirus. People of color are hit the heaviest by COVID-19 for a number of reasons, and instead of working to help the community when corona is ramping up in a huge way across Michigan, you want to buy ShotSpotter, which would target that community and throw even more people of color in jail. That would put them in an even riskier area. I'm urging you all to say no to ShotSpotter and tell us that you value your community and every person in it, regardless of race. Or, of course, you can say yes to ShotSpotter, but spare us the political crap and just admit you want it because you're racist and you value meeting quotas more than protecting your people. Your city is watching. I yield my time.
Thank you, caller. Caller, can you please lower the volume on your device? Thank you. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and the city in which you live. Your time starts now.
My name is Madeline. I live in Grand Rapids. I'm calling to voice my opposition to the spot shotter. The community has specifically asked for funding for unarmed mental health intervention officers. Instead of that, you give us helicopters, you give us ShotSpotter, you put up billboards, you do gun buybacks. What you should be doing is asking the community and working with the community to address the needs of the actual community that you are serving. Secondly, using COVID funding for this, and let's be clear, one way or another, you are using COVID funding. I get that you're putting money in one pocket and pulling it from another to hide the fact that you're using COVID funding. But you are using COVID funding for this during an uptick in COVID cases in Michigan. This is abhorrent. I do not see this as an effective use of my tax money in any way, shape, or form. Because not only will this use the COVID funding, but in order to maintain this going forward, you will be using $150,000 per year of my tax money for this. This is not acceptable to me. The community has made it clear in a number of meetings that we do not want this. And I would remind each of you commissioners that you work for us in the community and you're accountable to us, and you would do well to listen to us because if necessary, we will hold you accountable. Thank you. That is all the time I need.
Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Can you please lower the volume on your device? Thank you.
Hello.
You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and the city in which you live. Your time starts now.
Yes. Hello. My name is Jeremy Tong. I'm a nurse in Grand Rapids. I want to comment to second all the comments that everyone has been saying against spot shotter. I attended both the two separate town halls on ShotSpotter that the police had held last Tuesday and Thursday, and it's been made clear by Chief Payne that the GRPD will only be transparent when it suits their narrative. What we saw is they were dodging nearly every question, even really disregarding calls to defund the police and fund the community. So my statement is going to the City Commission, and I just want to tell you guys that given that GRPD refuses to listen to our pleas, it is up to y'all to listen to us. So what I'm encouraging is that the City of Grand Rapids Commission vote against the implementation of ShotSpotter. Keep in mind, if our concerns continue to be disregarded, we do have the power to elect other officials. Thank you for your time.
Caller, can you please lower the volume on your device? Thank you. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and the city in which you live. Your time starts now.
Hi, this is Maggie from earlier. Maggie Smith, Third Ward. My commissioners are Commissioner Moody and Commissioner Lanier. I'm calling with 3 comments. The first is the same question I asked. I was hoping that I helped elect not just my commissioners, but the other people, and also Mayor speak to research that was the basis for supporting the gun buyback. Research that actually helps prevent crime and helps communities. And then the second thing I wanted to mention was I'm extremely grateful to my Commissioner Lanier, for bringing up a rare comment, as we've seen in the past couple of years of city council meetings, which is asking how we can help people within our community. And in regards to the nuisance, I, as a resident of Grand Rapids, my husband and I are both white. We've actually lived in a house that could have qualified as a nuisance. We spent 5 years fixing up a house, never had a complaint. What's been interesting in my current neighborhood, a house that is being attacked with the idea of having a nuisance for having their grass too long or being a nuisance, they happen to be one of the only few Black people, Black families that live in my area. And I think that we need to pay close attention to how nuisances are used, and especially where they line up with the history of redlining that we have in our community, that we have all over the U.S. I would love to keep talking about that because that's incredibly important, as is helping our community, helping people who are suffering from impacts of race, which is very strong in our community, and also the impacts of the pandemic, which is ongoing. However, I now have to use the rest of my time to talk about the unjust mismanagement occurring because this spotter is up all of this time. It's very clear that this is not a good use of funds, very clear that the community does not support it. And yet we are at yet another meeting when this is a topic. So not only do I not support the purchase of the ShotSpotter and the continued maintenance of it, which will cost money, and will bring more police who have a history of racial bias into neighborhoods that are already over-policed, I also want to call out that this whole process has been a mismanagement, and it's something that we all should be ashamed of. Thank you. I'll yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Hi, my name is Charles Thompson. I'm a resident of Grand Rapids and a member of Socialist Alternative. First, I want to second all of the comments that have been made so far against the ShotSpotter implementation in Grand Rapids. I firmly believe that the city's budget is ultimately an expression of the city's political stance, and the fact that mass demonstrations against police brutality and the over-policing of Black and Brown communities have been going on all summer and continue to happen on a regular basis. The fact that the city has utterly disregarded the calls to defund the GRPD and to fund social services, the fact that they are instead suggesting to spend $500,000 additional dollars to encourage the over-policing of Black and Brown communities is a solid statement to the residents of Grand Rapids that the City Commission and the City Council are not listening to the demands that the citizens are putting forward, that they do not have our best interests in mind, and that they will continue to ignore us if we don't step up the pressure. I urge the City Council to listen to the demands that are being made by the organizers of the protests that have been going on since May. I urge the City Council to take these demands seriously. As one caller pointed out, you work for us, and this flagrant disregard of the protests and the actions that have taken place in Grand Rapids is sending a very clear signal that you are interested, that your political agenda is that of over-policing. It is that of community terror, and it's that of supporting the GRPD and its long storied history of racial profiling and racial injustice. I hope that community members listening to tonight's comments join my organization at Hartside Park this Saturday at 4:30 for a public meeting about defunding the GRPD and using some of those funds to fund the Rapid and make the Rapid free of charge for all citizens of Grand Rapids. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Hi, thank you. My name is Max Kruger. I live in the city of Grand Rapids, and I'm here today to comment on the city's proposed adoption of the gunshot detection subscription service ShotSpotter. My concern is that largely looking through the company's history, it appears that the claims of efficacy that the brand is selling are overstated, to say the least. I want to put forward the example of Fall River, Massachusetts. Fall River was a city that was given a trial period of ShotSpotter for free by the company. ShotSpotter did this in the hopes that the publicity would help sell their technology to other cities, and that after the short free trial period, that Fall River would adopt the technology on the level of the about $120,000 that they're offering to Grand Rapids right now. Unfortunately, as has been the case, not only did the technology not work, it had a failure rate of above 50% of either false positives or non-detection. But when that was brought forward and the city wanted to get out, ShotSpotter left their technology in place, and Fall River was forced to pay the cost of having to remove the technology themselves. ShotSpotter is perfectly willing to work with cities when you're in the purposes of selling their brand, but not when the technology either doesn't work or has negative outcomes. Grand Rapids is a city that's rising in population and tax revenue, and for Michigan, we're a city on the upswing. I think ShotSpotter is looking to kind of exploit that and to sell us a Silicon Valley dream of a technology that will help us silver bullet away our city's crime. I don't think that's the case. I think we know what the real solutions are to gun violence in the city. That improving housing in Grand Rapids, getting rental costs down, boosting support and social programs, and not trusting a incredibly costly yearly subscription service for technology that largely doesn't seem to work. Now, ShotSpotter has claimed that in the years since they've improved their failure rates, but given that what they've said that they've had their rates up to 90% efficacy, that was largely the same line that they sold Fall River and other cities before. And I don't think the city should trust them, and I don't think we should trust them with such an expensive subscription service. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Hi, my name is Phil Snyder, Grand Rapids 1st Ward. I'm a member of Socialist Alternative. I'm calling to tell you to vote no on the $500,000 spot shooter. There's no conclusive evidence that the surveillance technology works to reduce crime, and plenty of evidence that it leads to increased instances of police being sent into poor, primarily non-white neighborhoods on false alarms, with 1 in 5 instances of police being sent to the wrong home. What does that last point remind you of? Breonna Taylor was shot in her sleep because the police went to the wrong home. Do we want more instances of innocent people getting shot, of police breaking into innocent people's homes, disrupting their lives? No. Not in our community, not anywhere. Rather than spend $500,000 of our COVID relief money on an already bloated police department, put it toward community programs and social services. Reduce crime through funding communities, providing services. Crime doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's primarily a symptom of poverty, of people not having opportunities. We're in the middle of an economic crisis, a pandemic. People can't afford to rent. Of course, there's going to be crime. What you need to do is take preventative action, fund communities, provide social services like public housing, cancel rent. We need to defund GRPD to at least the minimum of 32% and reallocate the $9 million that would save into the community. We're building a movement with Socialist Alternative and Justice for Black Lives to defund GRPD and put some of those funds into public transportation. It will only take about $4 million to make the rapid completely free for everyone. That means more access to jobs and services for the most vulnerable in our community. It means less congestion in our streets, less pollution. It's an easily afforded public good that can have a major impact. So I urge you to vote no on spot shooter, to defund the police to 32%, actually listen to the demands that have been made, and to consider putting half of those funds into the rapid to make the rapid free, considering the recent cuts to the rapid that are affecting the poorest people in our community already, eliminating free routes on the Silver Line, on the Michigan route, getting rid of the change cards or transfer cards. I see people every day when I ride the bus who get on the bus, try to pay in change, and they're losing money because they're not getting change cards. They're having to spend $1.75 every time they get on. The wave card may be an efficient system for people paying and to get discounts when they use it every time, but not everyone can afford that. Not everyone can get to the central station or to a location where they can pick one up, spend the $5 on the card, and then continually recharge it. Not everyone has a bank account for that. You're creating a huge inconvenience for the poorest people in our community, and frankly, the bus should be free. It's free in a number of cities in the United States, a number of cities around the world with great effect. So I completely urge you to take action and actually listen to the demands that are being made. On top of that, we are, like Charlie said before me, there's a rally at Hartside Park at 4 p.m. To talk more about defunding GRPD and put that into the rapid. And I urge anyone hearing this to go to that to hear more.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Hello, my name is Adam Sherman, and I live on the southeast side of Grand Rapids. I'm calling to voice my opposition to the use of any public funds to purchase the ShotSpotter technology. The ShotSpotter's core purpose is to intimidate and over-police a 4 square mile of Grand Rapids that it is supposedly to protect. And the question has been raised already to Chief Payne on multiple times that what would the process be to remove the ShotSpotter if it didn't work, or if it was putting innocent people in harm's way or in jail, and you could not provide any actionable steps for that process. We shouldn't even be considering instituting some technology if we have no plan for how to remove it if it does not work the way that it is advertised. And at this time, there's no process in place to keep the GRPD accountable to the community it serves or to properly monitor this new technology. And to all the city commissioners listening, your constituents have already provided over 100 items of correspondence in opposition to the implementation of ShotSpotter. The people are speaking, and it's time for you to listen. It should be abundantly clear that defunding the police is necessary for the safety and well-being of our community. We already don't feel safe. More policing is not the answer. Individuals already don't report gunfire because they are fearful of police brutality or intrusion. If the GRPD wants to build trust in this community, they should not be spending $500,000 on broken windows style policing. I feel like this money could be much better used to serve the community in a variety of ways. For instance, it could be used to subsidize ride fare on the rapid so that everyone in Grand Rapids has access to free public transit. It could be used to help people who are suffering because of the COVID, whether they have lost work because of it, whether they have incurred new medical debt because of it, or they're unable to pay bills, or as you were already discussing earlier this evening, property taxes. That money should be going to help the people of this city. We need to be taking care of each other, and that means taking care of our most vulnerable. So the fact that you're even considering spending money on technology that is meant to spy on and meant to intimidate your citizens, when you could be using that money to help your citizens, to help the most vulnerable, it's shameful that you would even consider it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Thank you for taking my call. My name is Eyeline. I live in the southeast side of Grand Rapids. I'm very concerned because the Kent County would be allocating the funds that we're discussing regarding ShotSpotter. I also find it very strange that the Grand Rapids Police Department has advertised on several different occasions and several different mediums that there would be a discussion in the financial committee of this commission, as well as that there'd be a vote tonight. And now there's strangely, somehow, magically, is no vote tonight, and it's been postponed to next week. I find that very strange and very odd. Next, I would also like to support all the public comments and all the people that have come out tonight that have shown a huge dissent for ShotSpotter. It is an abhorrent idea. It is terrible for our city, terrible for our community, not just for Grand Rapids, but for all of West Michigan. Because Grand Rapids is such a hub, not just for the citizens of Grand Rapids and for the awful 4 square miles, essentially, that it would be over policing, but for every single person that would be even just walking through that area. This is the 3rd time ShotSpotter has been brought before the people of Grand Rapids, and it's the first 2 times that it has failed, and I truly hope that it fails this time as well. Instituting ShotSpotter instead of investing the full $1 million, because Chief Payne has made it very clear that along with the $500,000 that would go to the GRPD, there's also $500,000 that would be in community investments as well. I believe the full $1 million should go to community investments, like many people already have mentioned, busing and other community investments that would help the community instead of just over policing people and targeting more people that have already huge targets on their back. The question has been raised to Chief Payne on multiple different occasions what the process would be to remove ShotSpotter if it didn't work or if it would put innocent people in harm's way. And all he could say is that that it's a great program and that there would be no process at this time. There's no actionable steps to actually remove it, and there's no way to monitor it either. There's no way that at this time, there's nothing in place that it would publicly put any data on anything. It would not even be in the annual report at this time for any of the technology that would be used. Currently, people don't report gunfire, not because they don't want to report gunfire, but because they're scared of the police brutality that they go through every single day. The GRPD wants to build community trust, but all they're doing right now is just intimidating people with this program. And that's not appropriate. This program is not being put in like Ada, Cascade, Jenison, and all the nice little white neighborhoods. It's being put into the part of Grand Rapids that's already over policed, and that is not appropriate. We need to be building community centers. We need to be reaching out to people. We need to be building bridges, not intimidating people by monitoring every single thing that they say and do.
That's 3 minutes. Thank you. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Hi, my name is Mark and I'm from Grand Rapids. On this ShotSpotter deal, no, it won't work. This is basically a high-tech version of stop and frisk. It's going to do more harm than good. Get rid of it. It's not needed. Like I said before, and I'll keep on saying it until this gets done. You need the precincts. The precincts work. ShotSpotter doesn't. You know, as for defunding the police, no, I don't want the police defunded because, like I said before, if you do, stuff like Boys and Girls Clubs will be in jeopardy because of the police defunding. So no, you know, if you want to defund something that's unnecessary, like Planned Parenthood or something. You cannot have the racial profiling in this city. And if you over-police one side, that leaves the other side. Which it might be less crime, but it'll be crime nonetheless. And that crime might not be shots-firing, but it could be something like child molestation, child abduction, domestic violence. That's the reason why you need the precincts. You got to put them all over the city. That's what is needed, not this ShotSpotter crap. Thank you very much.
Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Hi, my name is Deirdre Collins. I live in Southeast Grand Rapids. and I am calling to voice my opposition to the shot spotter technology. I just don't have a whole lot more to say other than everything that's already been said. It's technology that's not needed. It's not useful. It's not too expensive, and we can use the money on lots of other things to benefit our public. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Hello, my name is Hema Lowe, and I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm going to say this in Spanish real quick and in English. Voy a hablar esto en español antes y luego en inglés. Mi nombre es Hema de Grand Rapids y yo estoy en la posición por esta nueva tecnología de vigilar a los tiros, porque pues nos vigilan ya mucho a la comunidad de color y a los inmigrantes, que son los que están en la mira de la policía. Entonces es mejor invertir en algo que es proactivo y no que es reactivo, como es estar vigilando quien está tirando tiros. Entonces yo pienso que la ciudad debe de invertir en lo que es algo de proactividad, como invertir en la comunidad y mejorar a la comunidad, que darle dinero a la policía. So what I said in Spanish is that I think I'm against the shot spotters investment that the police wants to do, because there's more civilians for the people of color and immigrants. And I would like to see the city investing in proactive and reactive solutions. Reactive is after the fact that someone's shot is shooting, and then going to the root cause of what's making people violent or making people doing shootings, in investment in community and in reaction of shootings, and more surveillance for people of color and brown people. That is what the targeting of the police has been historically. And there's a lot of investment that can be with that money, and then if in the fact that money comes from COVID resources, then it should go into how to take care of the community, and because of the pandemic times, and investment more in the community rather than the police. And I second all the comments about technology to more civilians for people of color and for brown people. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
How you doing? My name is DeAndre Jones, and I stay in the city of Grand Rapids. I'm just calling to give my feedback on the shot spotter. I don't believe that the city of Grand Rapids should use coronavirus funds to fund this shot spotter. Just from statistically speaking, there's only $19 million that was invested in the third ward. We still have lead paint crisis that has more. We have more lead paint in the houses on the south side of Grand Rapids than the Flint water crisis. We are going through a pandemic, a public health crisis. I believe that the $500,000 should be going to more community outreach to reach out to landlords to get the lead paint out of the houses over there on the south side. I also believe that the shot spotter won't work. From looking at statistics, it actually has a lot of false alarms, and it really has. It's not too many people that have actually been locked up from the shot spotter. More than anything, I believe that we need to have grassroots movements and community outreach. We need to have. I know it's tough because of COVID-19, but we need to definitely have the city of Grand Rapids leaders, the commissioners, the mayor, the city manager reaching out to young men, because predominantly people of color on the south side of Grand Rapids. I honestly believe in the gun buyback program as much as I'm in the hood on the third ward and some of the roughest areas. I believe that the gun buyback program is more effective than this shot spotter would be, because a lot of people don't really want to turn in guns, but I believe in that more than this. My cousin was actually a victim of police brutality. I had a cousin that actually died by the hands of the police in the state of Illinois by the state troopers. More than anything, of me being unbiased and me staying optimistic of my own family's problems, I believe that in order for us to bridge the gap between police and community relations, we need to have some type of better outreach, whether it's investing into community programs, whether it's investing into other corporations to get more jobs, to create more equity. We actually need to do something other than investing in technology that has proven that it doesn't work, and it's going to be predominantly in areas where Black people are. Like, we need to start actually investing into real equity. Like I said, my cousin has been killed by law enforcement, and I'm remaining optimistic, and I'm staying positive. And I just believe that the city of Grand Rapids could do more with this coronavirus relief funds than putting it into ShotSpotter. More than anything, word of mouth and face-to-face communication. I believe in that more than this technology that has proven to also prove false alarms and give false alarms. We actually need to get out there and
thank you, caller. That's 3 minutes. Thank you. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name, the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Hi, I am Danae. I am a resident of Grand Rapids, and I am calling to say how utterly irresponsible it would be to put coronavirus relief funds towards a shot spotter. We are dealing with a pandemic here where our hospitals in Grand Rapids are full once again with people dealing with this virus. We have people who have not gone back to work yet that can't even afford rent right now. We don't have the money to be giving unemployment the benefits that we were before. And to take all of this relief money and put it towards a shot spotter that is completely unnecessary because it will not be stopping crime. What it does is tell you where crime has happened. We already know where crime happens. You can find that out. That is not a necessary place to be putting this money. Instead, we need to be talking about what you were discussing earlier in the meeting, where people's rent, housing, all of these crises are way better places to be discussing putting relief money, not into the hands of the police, who have a completely bloated budget already. When they only get 32% of our budget, that is still a huge number of the tax money in this city every single year, and they are getting well above that. Let them take their own funds that we are giving them and put it towards that if they think that's so necessary, because we, the people, do not need that. We do not want that, and we're going to fight you on that tooth and nail. Thank you for your time.
Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Thank you. My name is Natia. I'm a member of Socialist Alternative and a resident of Grand Rapids in the 2nd District. I'm here calling to urge the City Commission and Mayor Bliss to vote no on the $500,000 spot shooter in Grand Rapids. The science has proven that this technology does not work, and it is not right for our communities. Instead of spending $500,000 of our COVID relief money on an already bloated police department that's receiving $9 million more than what the city charter demands them to be allocated, we're spending this on technology that is going to further disenfranchise and target Black and Brown communities in the city. It's absolutely egregious. I think that this money would be much better spent on funding, community housing, funding public transportation, and that's why Socialist Alternative is urging people to come to Hartside Park this Saturday at 4:00. Please come and show your support for not voting for this spot shooter that is a complete waste of money. And just to add the fact that we are talking about spending this amount of money after just not even an hour ago, the City Commission discussing all of the tenants in Grand Rapids that can't pay their rent. It's absolutely embarrassing. You guys should be embarrassed of yourself. Thank you.
Caller, can you please lower the volume on your device?
Hello?
Hi, can you please lower the volume on your device?
I'm going to go outside. That'll work, right?
Sure. Yep.
Okay, hang on a second. I think I've got this upside down. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Okay. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and the city in which you live. Your time starts now.
Hello, my name is Martha Cooper. I appreciate many of the comments. I especially want to touch on the 3 buses because I think that is a matter of equity that you talk about, but you never show. I think that this proposal had come down so fast during an election week. So I just want to talk for a minute about how upset I am at the way you do things. And it was designed so that nobody would have any chance to know what was going on, to really figure out where and organize and find out anything other than the Monday when I attended the town hall. Most of it wasn't anything about our comments or anything or questions. It was all about somebody with spot fodder and a $5.5 contract at stake. So we only got one side of the picture. I did notice, and so did the news. In fact, they noticed something else I noticed. I noticed that one time our police chief was making friendly with the gentleman and talking about how they had met some 6 years ago or something and how he had wanted it done. I think that was before he was. At any rate, I'm not as enamored of toys for the cops. Everybody else has talked about how you're brushing aside all of those conversations that we all had with passion about defunding and funding communities. I'm going to remind you of some things and throw numbers around a little bit so we really know what we're talking about. To maintain the system, it'll be $140,000 a year. Where's that coming from? Whose mouth are you taking that out of? The Boys and Girls Club? I listened to the man and he said, we don't want to defund the police because we know it's going to come out of these funds. And I'm like, yes, they do know that because you show that they are not important. And the defunding that happened in the Southeast side, I can't believe that the mayor and the commissioner in that district didn't even know about it. That's negligence. At any rate, so when that happened over a period of time, I'm going to speak now as a single parent of a child with ADD and no dad in the house. They need those programs. And after 20 years of underfunding, and there's no kids playing in the park and soccer, and there's no art classes for these kids. And only until recently, if they graduated, did they understand that they could only get 2 years, not a degree like the Kalamazoo promised with a bunch of colleges around. We need to start showing people who's important and spending $500,000, $500,000, and setting it up to take more out of the community is obscene. It is just obscene. And the way you've done it, you want to say, oh, it's not coming out of coronavirus fund.
That's 3 minutes. Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Thank you. My name is Cherie. I'm a citizen of Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'd first like to express my sincere condolences to the people who have lost loved ones to gun violence. To the commissioners, I would like to make it clear that we share a desire to reduce gun violence. It is because I care about the individuals in Grand Rapids that I do not support the implementation of ShotSpotter. I do not desire to hear another victim or about another victim of police brutality or wrongful conviction. Through research, I discovered 2 court cases involving ShotSpotter that raises red flags. The first of which included testimony from Paul Green, who is a forensic analyst employed with ShotSpotter. He testified under oath that the 80% gunshot location accuracy statistic that ShotSpotter uses is nothing more than a marketing ploy. It has no basis in reality to the engineers that make the software. The accuracy of the system is significant, especially if our local Grand Rapids police were to use it as evidence in a local court case. In the second proceeding, ShotSpotter data was used by Rochester PD against an innocent citizen who they shot and then subsequently charged fraudulently. The man spent 18 months in jail while his lawyers worked to eventually figure out that ShotSpotter had inflicted the shot that the police officers had shot as a helicopter. Only after the police talked to ShotSpotter directly did a shot count come to fruition. The judge struck down the case based on those findings, proving that ShotSpotter is nothing more than an expensive microphone. Again, I do not want to hear about another citizen being arrested wrongfully, and I don't want to hear about any more police brutality, and I do not support the implementation of ShotSpotter. I do hope this information helps you guide your decisions next week. I will make sure to make my voice heard then as well. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
My name is Michelle Truskowski from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I wanted to comment on the issue of defunding the GRPD and City Manager Washington's refusal to acknowledge the community's request from several weeks ago. After over 4 hours of public comment with many voices in support of defunding and Commissioner Eustachy, Lanier, Repart, and Jones all on board as well, it is appalling to me that you have not spoken or reintroduced the plan for defunding the police. I think it's absolutely pathetic that the city manager has not only the power to ignore the community, but also the commission itself. Ever since he's arrived from Austin to earn a $250,000 per year salary, I've witnessed numerous examples where he's not only flatly ignored the voices of the community, but he's reached a new low, I think, by now ignoring the commission itself. On behalf of the many Grand Rapids residents who took their time to write letters, email the commission, and call in for public comment in support of defunding the GRPD, I, along with those residents I referred to, deserve an explanation as to why our voices and those of our commissioners were able to be stifled by the city manager. I yield the balance of my time.
Caller, can you please lower the volume on your device? Thank you. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and the city in which you live. Your time starts now.
Yes, my name is Robin Benton. I represent the Community Relations and Racial Equity Committee for the neighborhood of Belknap Lookout. And I'm weighing in tonight from the human rights framework and stating that I consider this spotter a technology investment rather than a human investment in communities. And I hear the term communities used a lot tonight, and I don't know of any engagement directly with the neighborhood associations surrounding the police budget of the ShotSpotter, or, and for that matter, some accountability to communities. And I was peripherally involved with the defund the police movement in the sense that there's a reallocation of funds is time in Grand Rapids. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Our governor has declared racism as a public health crisis. And as we define health, we understand that it means health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And so there's 11 municipalities around Michigan that have declared racism as a public health crisis, and I frame these issues with the police department attached to that crisis, be it that the GRPD has been under investigation from the State Civil Rights Commission, and there's been no conversation around that. In fact, I do believe that training around racism, systemic racism, should be applied to all city agencies, and I think a new relationship with with neighborhood associations should be developed for capacity. We have a lot of mental health issues in our neighborhood. There's been violence in our neighborhood, but we've attended to them in a different fashion than calling the agencies that historically have crossed the line. So I'm calling to basically support the idea that Grand Rapids declares racism as a public health crisis, and that they reallocate funds directed for COVID virus to community empowerment rather than technology, utilizing innovation for community, not in technology to lord it over community. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Caller, you're on with the City Commission. Please state your name and the city in which you live. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts now. Oh, that caller hung up, Mayor. There are no more callers in the queue.
All right, thank you, Daniel. I will then turn to my colleagues tonight. And how about we start tonight with Commissioner Jones?
Thank you, Mayor. I am appreciative of all who called in on this evening. I think that we have to continue down the path of doing our best to inform the public about what's before us with regards to the issue of ShotSpotter and the role of the county and the CARES Act dollars. I think that if we can do our best as a city to communicate what the facts are, that would be, I think, most helpful. It's not really about trying to change the minds of individuals. I think it's more about the importance of being informed. I can really appreciate those who have called and who have submitted letters in terms of their opposition to ShotSpotter. I too would like to see the dollars used right now, not so much for technology, but for things like cure violence as well as other efforts. But again, the position that we're in, we are limited in terms of what we can do. And so I just want to continue. I just want to encourage everyone to continue to not just engage, but I just ask that folks continue to consider what's at stake here. I was very much appreciative of the caller who stated that they had started out by providing their condolences to families who have lost loved ones to gunfire. And they talked about they didn't want anyone else to have to experience police brutality or to be disrespected by police. And I get that. My vision is to have a police department that recognizes and values each and every member of the community. And I think that we can get there, but it's clear that it's going to take a lot of work. And it's not just something that I think is the responsibility of law enforcement. I think that ultimately, and I think another caller has stated this as well, the issue of the gun violence that's at play is much bigger than even violence prevention. It's about a lack of real opportunity and some historic inequities that have been in place for centuries. And so we're talking about a significant lift that can't be only the city of Grand Rapids looking to participate in that lift. It requires all hands on deck. And in the meantime, I think we have to also be sensitive to the fact that we have 31 homicides in our beloved city, and we have to find ways to address that while also continuing to work down the path of trying to get improved police and community relations, as well as a greater focus on crime prevention. And so again, I am, even in the midst of this pandemic, I am still encouraged that we can get to a better place. But I just, again, my hope is that we can do a lot more as a community in terms of operating with a greater sense of empathy as well as grace. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Repper?
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, everybody, for calling in today. I didn't get a chance to say this earlier in Committee of the Whole, but I do want to give my thanks to the entire clerk staff. And what a wild week last week was. But from my vantage point, everything went about as smooth as it could in our city. And I'm so proud of that and thankful for that. And I appreciate the hard work of everybody, as well as the hard work of everybody to monitor and to watch and challenge, because I think that's what makes it so soundproof. And I'm looking forward to seeing the results of the canvas and affirming all of everybody's work. I shared my thoughts about ShotSpotter earlier, so I'll just say today in Kent County, we had 851 new cases of COVID-19, which is the highest single day since this pandemic began. The 5-day average is 530 cases. And so I just want to encourage people to stay focused, wear your mask, be socially distanced. They say even small gatherings are things to be pointed to as places where this virus is spreading. So please do your best to be safe and to keep those around you safe. And in the midst of all of this, the election, COVID, everything continuing on with the election, it's very heavy. So I just encourage everybody to be kind to yourself, be kind to those that you love.
Thanks, Commissioner. All good reminders. Commissioner Isasi.
Thank you, Mayor. I will add my Academy Award thank yous like Mr. Hondorp did this afternoon. But once you start calling out people, you got to be careful, Joel, is what I've learned. But I do want to say thank you to those who voted in Grand Rapids. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you to businesses who made time for people if they decided to go in person. Waiting in line is important, and I think we try to reduce that time as much as we can. So thank you again to everyone in the city clerk staff and to our city staff who did this work. I also want to say thank you to groups that were doing work in the city that had support from other organizations, part of their mission of, so the Urban Core Collective, Proactive, and ACLU, worked in different neighborhoods. I did a canvas with UCC a few times, which was really all about getting out the vote and making sure that we never made people feel bad or shamed if they hadn't voted, but it was really about putting out a plan. So I want to say thank you to those groups in our community. I have a lot of messages in my inbox about ShotSpotter, so not surprised to get the calls. Tonight, I agree with Commissioner Jones. I posted a few things on my Facebook page because I really want people to understand the nuances of how these dollars came and understanding that we've asked some questions about flexibility and, sort of where we sit today. And that if you are, asking that question about ShotSpotter or technology, to continue to follow along, because I think that even since the last time we met, there are some questions that are going to, go back and try to be answered from the county. So I do ask the community to do that. And I will certainly share any of those pieces. On Halloween, very close family member had shots that were very near their home. They have a Ring camera, heard shots, went to go see what happened. And, this always strikes close to home. For me, I certainly believe in the prevention, and what we should be spending our money on is things that help to prevent violence in our communities, and also understanding that, that we need to continue to engage with people. So it's not just town halls, it's not just the 3 minutes here, but I think that's been one of the things that I miss during COVID, is being able to connect with people in a live format and to listen to one another and exchange ideas. So thank you for those who called in and who sent emails about that. And then as far as the pandemic, I think the things that we talked about today are not only about the health and the wealth of the community. Our Federal Reserve Chair in this country said the pandemic is further widening divides in wealth and economic mobility. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody on this commission or to many people tuning in. We know that many residents don't have savings of $300 or $400 to help them through the emergency. And so thank you, Commissioner Lanier, for bringing up the issue. Really, so often we don't have the opportunity to talk through those strategy pieces. We had a session last week, but we need to be doing everything that we can as a commission, as a city, to recognize that we are facing a huge housing rental crisis, and this next wave is just in front of us. And so an economist, Derek Hamilton, also said that poverty is not the result, is the result of not having enough money. And when we offer solutions that aren't about money, we are not offering serious solutions. And so I think, again, to your point, Commissioner Lanier, what are we looking to do to put dollars in hand and support to residents, and really trying to mirror some of the things that we have done for our businesses in this community. I had an extended family member who died this week from COVID. Many people that I know and care about who in these last weeks have been diagnosed, some with no symptoms, some with mild symptoms. And I agree wholeheartedly with what Commissioner Redpart has said. We have to take this, seriously. I think the summer made us maybe a little complacent. I think I am certainly thinking about that and following through on that. So I just encourage everyone to stay safe. And please know that as we move forward in these next months, we will continue to think about not only how our businesses are impacted, but how our residents are impacted, and know that there is still a long road of recovery and a pandemic ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I will add my thanks to you for all of your work that you have done and have been doing over the past several months to assist with the elections. Really appreciate your leadership there. Let's go to Commissioner Moody.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I want to thank all of those who have sent me emails on voting no on shot spotters and those who've called as well. I appreciate everything that I've heard tonight. I've done my due diligence. I went far as back to 2013 when shot spotters first became available to this commission, and it was also never made it to the level of voting on because it was taken off the agenda. My biggest concern is that out of all the people that called in, like Commissioner Jones mentioned, I appreciate the one individual who called and talked about the violence in terms of those who've lost lives. I'm one of the individuals that are on the lines out there. You might consider that I am upfront, and I deal with a lot of these deaths personally as a pastor and as a business person. I hear people who call me 3-4 o'clock in the morning about shootings. And I am concerned about the city, but more so the third ward. Over the 31 deaths that we've had, I hope that the community understands that the police department does need our help in curbing the violence, but also individuals have to turn individuals in who are doing the shootings. Definitely there needs to be a plan in place. If shot spotters is not the plan, then what is the plan? I'm sure that cure violence is a good plan. It is a preventive matter. It is a measure that prevents violence, but we got to come up with a measure that also will investigate and solve crimes. Yes, the money should be used for different things because there's a lot of things that need to be done in the city. But one thing that I have to say that I think is so important, out of all the people that called in, and to please individuals, don't take no offense to this. If you do, it's not my intent to offend anyone. But I heard from a lot of white, very few black people. And I think that's important. So I need to know the community at broad, where the action is happening. What are their thoughts on shot spotters? And I think that it becomes my responsibility to find that out. I'm not going to say that I'm in favor and that I'm not in favor. But I am in favor that we come up with a solution to help our department cure the violence and the killings that are taking place within the third ward. That's important to me. Yes, economics is important, jobs are important, homeless is important, taxes are important. But we need to figure out a way that we are to curb this violence, because it's not just individual victims, the families that are hurt. It's the whole entire neighborhood and community who has to deal with the grief of these things that are taking place. I've had the opportunity to pastor over several or preach over several funerals of individuals who were shot in this community. And I have not seen one organization out at those funerals saying anything to support those families. Not one. That includes all the who called in from different social groups. I have not even heard of any of them going out and talking to those families and figuring out ways to solve the problem. We need to quit worrying about shooting something down and start worrying about what it is that we need to do to make something effectively happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner O'Connor? Okay, Commissioner Lanier?
Thanks, Mayor. I'd just like to thank everyone for calling this evening and voicing their opinions regarding ShotSpotter and some of the other issues that were brought up through those calls, and even the recommendations about evaluating funding for the rapid, so that again we can find relief for our residents in the community. The emails as well, I think, Commissioner Isasi, to your point, expressing those concerns. We appreciate receiving those communications as well. I think this is all part of engagement, and it's exactly what we said we wanted to do as we were approached by the county to consider ShotSpotter. So I appreciate the feedback. I do think that we, as an entity, probably should evaluate our engagement efforts so that we can make sure that people are aware of what's expected of them when we're engaging them. Because there's, frequently frustration when overwhelmingly we're hearing an opinion. And at the end of the day, sometimes those opinions aren't necessarily taken into consideration. And I think we have to be upfront with what is it exactly that we're trying to garner as we're engaging. We have a surveillance policy, and the intent of putting that policy in place is to make sure that as we are considering any tool that has the potential of being utilized as surveillance or being deemed as surveillance, that we need to have conversations with the community so that they can understand what the tool is. And, but, I think there's also been some confusion even with the engagement, because, at some point we were clearly stating that it was solely for this technology, ShotSpotter. And then it was reported that, and shared even earlier today, that there's potential for it to be used in other ways. And I think we've gone down the trail of ShotSpotter for so long that I don't feel like we've adequately evaluated in the event that the county allows us to utilize the funds in other ways, what are those other ways that we would potentially want to use those funds for? $500,000 is a significant amount of money. And I at this point, I don't feel like if it isn't this, then what are the alternatives that could be easily and quickly implemented? And I don't know personally that I'm interested in adding another $500,000 to cover the expenses of staffing time, which I think is something that we're considering because it's easier for us to do in light of the turnaround time that we have with spending the dollars. I think it's just really, for me, it's quite confusing. And I hear the frustration, but I'm also hearing almost as much as I'm hearing about being in opposition of ShotSpotter. I can't say that I'm hearing equally that people are concerned about the shootings, but I will say that overwhelmingly, especially this calendar year, but starting even last year, our public, the people who live near gunfire, they're concerned, and they're concerned for the safety of their families and their children. And I think we do need to spend some time exploring all of the options and what can we potentially look at implementing sooner than later. And I know some of the items that we've considered aren't easy or quickly for us to implement, but there has to be some things that we can partner within the community that perhaps the funding would be best suited for, as opposed to looking at trying to start something from scratch on our own. And I know I probably rambled and didn't say a whole lot, which isn't actually like me because I'm pretty direct, but I think I'm just struggling right now because this is complex and it isn't easy. And lives are lost and people are grieving, and people want to be safe, and I want people to be safe. I want to feel safe. I want my family to be safe, and it's not happening when there's shootings happening even yet today. And so we have to do something, and I don't know what that something is. And I'm appreciative of the resources that the county is allocating to the city. I do think that had there been more coordinated conversations, and perhaps there were administratively, but if there had been more coordinated conversations at the onset, perhaps we would be in a place of implementation as opposed to still debating and discussing, because we knew that if it were ShotSpotter, that we would have to go through a public process in order to meet the requirements of our surveillance policy. So that probably wasn't the best allocation to have the funds going to a tool like ShotSpotter. But I guess I'll just stop there because I can keep going just rambling. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Commissioner. All right, I'll turn to our appointed officials. Let's start with our city attorney.
Nothing, Mayor.
All right, thank you. City clerk?
I think I've said enough today, but once again, thank you to all Grand Rapidians that voted. And I guess Commissioner Stassi did say if you start thanking people, you got to be careful. So I thank you to DeVos Place and the Convention Bureau for letting us use DeVos Place for the FCA County Board, that we could keep that many people physically distanced during our AV counting. So shout out to that partnership we have with them.
Yeah, thank you. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to express my appreciation to the staff for the work they continue to do in helping us through these very challenging times, dealing with very difficult issues, and certainly to you, the elected leaders of our community, in weighing these public policy matters. I want to thank the callers for taking time to share their perspective. But I do want to remind people why we are having this conversation now for the record. It was a policy decision by another governing body that allocated federal funding to other local units of government, which we were a beneficiary of. And so what the police department has done is, in the spirit of transparency and engagement, to share the potential use of what federal funding has been potentially made available for crime reduction and gunshot technology. That was the original intent of the County Board of Commissioners. So I'm afraid that much of the frustration that has been voiced here would have been helpful if that same communication feedback would have also been shared with the county policymakers as well. Because had that not happened, we would not be deliberating this utilization now. But we are appreciative of what they've done, because we do have a serious violent crime issue. I think the number is more like 32 or 33 homicides that we've had this year. And so the police department has been very transparent in trying to get feedback. The reason why we're here today is to discuss these very important issues and even navigate with the county to see if there's any alternative uses. And as of 5:38 p.m. today, we have gotten additional information on other potential uses of the funding, and hopefully by next week we will continue to see what alternatives can be done to use to reduce crime. But I do want to also respond to the community's concern about using it in ways other than technology. The county also made another $500,000 in funding allocations for community-based organizations to seek application to have grassroots, if you will, crime prevention alternatives. And so I think people are trying to be creative in finding ways to be responsive to what we're hearing about the increasing number of crime and making sure that our community is safe. So I do also want to make sure that everyone is following the progression of conversations. We've moved from where we were in June, from that initial conversation around defunding. We've had several conversations as staff. I am well aware of my responsibilities as city manager, and I have asked this governing body, as I indicated, the preferences around public safety. And we had our retreat last week, and if there is a clear preference for doing something different other than what we have proposed for the budget, we will do that. But that is not what we've heard as staff. So I think we're trying to find a way to move forward responsibly, both as staff and community, and we are continuing to do the best that we can. This is not easy. There is no city that has figured it out, even though they have made some progress. I think we're all trying to find a way to make sure that we move forward together. So with that, Mayor, I have no other comments.
Thank you, City Manager. I appreciate you providing some context and some background on what brings us today to be talking about this topic. So appreciate that. And you know, the other thing I'll say, and I appreciate all the comments, you know, what I will remind everyone is that there's a lot of things that bring us together, not just around this table in the city, but in our community. And one of them is we want a community that is free from violence and from gun violence. And like Commissioner Lanier said, and Commissioner Moody and everyone else, you know, we want people to feel safe. We want families and children to feel safe in this community, no matter what neighborhood they live in. And right now we have a lot of families that don't feel safe. And it's incumbent on all of us to explore every single option we have to not just improve our outcomes and our responses, and to do it in a way that eliminates racial disparities, which we have talked about at length around this table, and that's clearly spelled out in the police department strategic plan, but also to identify ways to respond differently. And we've already done some of that work. We have more work to do, but we have added mental health and behavioral health specialists to our HOT team, and to move forward with robust evidence-based violence prevention efforts. You know, I keep saying this is a comprehensive approach, and as many of you have said, it's not just the police department, it's all of us together. It's a community. This is a community issue that requires a community response, and all of us being at the table, even when we don't agree. There's a lot of disagreement all over in this country right now. But one thing that we all agree on is that we want a safe community, and we love this community, and we need people to stay with us around the table and work through these really difficult issues together. So I appreciate all of you who called in tonight, but also everyone else who has reached out to me and who are really committed to being a part of the solution, as Commissioner Moody said. Two other things I want to touch on. One, I want to reiterate what Commissioner Ruppert said. I cannot stress enough how challenging these times are with the pandemic. It is not over yet. Our hospitals are reaching capacity. We have got to all work together to try to mitigate the spread of COVID. We are not out of the woods. We have to follow, every single one of us. We have to be following those medical precautions. The recent data and research clearly shows that COVID is being spread largely by small groups and people coming together inside. So with the weather changing, people are no longer outside, which we know is safer. And we know that there's less spread when you're outside. As we move inside with the colder weather, we're seeing a pretty significant correlation with an uptick. So we have to be mindful of that. We do not have a vaccine right now. I know a lot of people are excited that there's a potential vaccine that is months and months away. So we cannot let our guard down. So I just implore everyone to mask up, to really not just for our own health, but for our friends and our neighbors and for everyone else in this community. And then last, I'll just add my thanks to everyone who helped with the election. It truly was a team effort. But I also want to volunteer and to work at the polls. But then I also want to thank everyone for their patience. So I know everyone was excited and eager to see and hear the outcome of the election. It took longer this year because of the absentee ballots. And I just appreciated everyone for their patience and allowing everyone who was working hard to get those ballots counted, giving them the time and the space they needed to do that. So with that, I will close tonight and wish you all a good evening. We'll be back together next week. So this month we have back-to-back commission meetings because of the holiday. And so I will see you all next Tuesday. Thanks.